You're not.
So,
Are you
rather-
scuba diver?
For 20 years, we were dealing more in antiques and furniture,
Yeah.
which was very exciting. We used to love doing that. We're going around searching for
You
things.
also used to restore furniture, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I used to paint and do patinages on furniture, which was great fun, but very time consuming. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And that you see that in art as well, the patterns and the different paint styles. But we got into art because people were picking out the art that we had in the galleries, and it was a more interesting exploration, I suppose, for us, that people got passionate about it. It was a coup de cœur, you know?
Right.
Furniture tends to be an intellectual thing.
Oh, right.
People tend to, it's all about the measurement, whether it will fit in a space, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
When someone looks at a picture, it's in the heart first, it speaks to them. It's very difficult to sell a picture to somebody who doesn't have an emotional connection with it straight away.
Right.
Whereas with furniture, it's a totally different thing. It has to be practical and all those types of things.
Yes.
So yeah, and
That's
then
very
people were sort of honing in more and more on the art, and so we spent more time sourcing the art, which was exciting.
Yeah.
And the thing that certainly appeals to me, I think appeals to John as well, is that it's fascinating to do all the history, to find out all the the provenance of the piece, and also the link between all the different artists, how they all influenced each other through all the different periods, and how art is about looking back and also about looking forward, and all those things. And it's really, really fantastic. It's an exciting thing to be involved in.
It is, and it's very personal. We have people come into the shop and say, "That's me in that picture
No.
back in the 1960s when I was young and beautiful." Or he wanted to paint me nude, and I said no. Yeah, like you said no. And and the connections, the artists that knew each other and that they worked with each other in the same village on the same theme, and the influences of that. But also, what's really fascinating for me is the psychology of buying art and how people's tastes differ so much. So really, there is no such thing as good art. It's completely up to the individual as to
It's a subjective thing.
it's so totally subjective. And I find it fascinating finding out what makes them tick and why they choose that picture. Because basically, every piece of art is just a collection of lines, shapes, colours, and forms. I suppose just like a person is like the partner that you fall in love with. They are a collection of shapes and you think, oh, I quite like that.
Yeah.
And it's the same with art. It's really a coup de cœur, and you cannot explain why. That's the most fascinating part.
Coup de cœur?
Coup de cœur means that you just fall in love with something straight away. It's,
And then after that, it comes into explaining all about it, and when it was created, why it was created, all about the artist, all the other types of work that he did, which is fascinating for people as well. Some people, and there are certain things that resonate with people, be it a place or a date or all those types, or even a colour. Sometimes a colour resonates with people. It's fantastic to see that. It's fantastic to see people's eyes light up.
It is.
It's very exciting.
You know how just a smell can make you suddenly get a very strong image of something that happened in the past, a wonderful event. And it's the same with art. It can trigger something in them. And if you can look at a piece of art and still enjoy it after several years and find something in it, then for you, it's a really good piece of art.
I can relate to that. I bought a piece quite some time ago. Every morning I look at it and I just go, nothing. Because all the colours I like, all the lines.
And if you do somehow get bored with it at some point, you put it away, and just like with a person, absence makes the heart grow fonder, and you bring it out again and you rediscover it. It's amazing how it rekindles the love of it.
Because you also offer interior design tips. I mean, you guys obviously know quite a lot with all the furniture stuff that you've done. Are you trained in interior design? Or is it just your incredible eye for beauty and detail that helps you with the interior
it tends
design?
to be, we obviously have our own taste, and in fact we don't have the same taste. We have kind of complementary taste, but we look at things differently, and that's quite interesting when you go into people's homes to give them ideas. I tend to have a much more classical style. John tends to have a much more modern, colourful style. But the trend today is actually to mix the two.
So that's perfect.
That's kind of perfect. And also we've been very lucky in that we have clients, we have interior designers who are clients, and they invite us to go on projects. And so we see the type of things that they do, and obviously we take inspiration from that, and then we can pass that on, to other people and say, well, maybe this would work or that would work.
Yeah, we've had the opportunity to do several houses in the area, and it's great that people invite us into their homes and have trust to do that, and we get a bit of a blank canvas as well and work with them. choosing the right places, starting from scratch, to put art. Yeah, it's a good experience.
Because it's quite nice when people come into the shop and they fall in love with something, but either that's not the moment to buy it or whatever. Yes. But then obviously their spouse or their partner or their friend want to get them a gift, and they remember that, and they come back to us, and then we can arrange it. It's a little bit secret squirrel, and then we wrap it, and then we arrange for it to either be delivered, we deliver throughout the world. Yes. Or we can arrange for it to be collected and then sometimes hung on the wall for them, all that kind of thing. And that's very exciting. And it's so lovely to see people when they get something. It's because they think, oh my goodness. Yes. It's just us facilitating that, really. Yeah.
Or alternatively, we'll hunt for
and possibly saving marriages.
Yeah. You want this, I want that.
And we do remind people of dates. If people tell us the dates, then we will send them a little reminder, sort of a month in advance, just to say, obviously you haven't forgotten. But we did happen to know that your husband or your wife did come into the gallery and they did see this, and we know they'd love it. Would you like to buy it for them?
Service. That's amazing.
That has saved a few marriages at the very last hour. You can imagine Christmas.
Yes. Oh dear, it's the 25th.
And we will hunt for things as well for people, so we offer that service. If somebody says, someone's got a christening coming up or whatever, would you find something silver, something small that people would enjoy? We always got an eye on the lookout for things for folks. The back of our minds always. Yeah.
So you well connected, obviously here.
We've got a good reputation, both for selling but also for buying. Because obviously buying is very important. You have to buy things because you can't sell it if you haven't bought it. And if you tend to buy things privately, you get much nicer items. Right. If you buy from auctions, it's not always the best. It's not always the best.
Well, you get the history as well with it. If there's a provenance, and any stories that go with that item, and then there usually comes a collection as well. So,
the provenance is obviously very important.
It's very important, And also there's things, again, as we go into people's homes, there's things we see and we fall in love with, but obviously they might not be ready to sell it at that particular moment, but we express an interest, and it might be 10 years later, they might say, our circumstances have changed, or we've changed the design and we want to sell that item now, and so they'll offer it to us. And also we do not take things back so much, but people will come back and say, now my style has changed, I want a different piece, so we'll do an exchange or whatever, and then we've got the piece back, and that can be exciting too. Because often it's not just one person who falls in love with an object, it's several people, and it happens to be the first person who buys it who gets the thrill of owning it. Someone said to us yesterday, actually, a picture we sold about 2 years ago, it's still in his head. It's sold to someone else because he arrived a couple of hours too late to buy it, and he keeps saying to us, if that comes back, then I really, really want to buy it. So we tried our best.
We have on occasion sold the same item 3 or 4 times.
Oh really?
Yeah. Which is great for us, but also it's great for the customer because they don't have to go through the worry of trying to sell something at auction or finding another buyer on a website or something. It's more personal, and we're happy to do it.
And it also helps with the peace of mind because art is an investment. So to know that they've got a long-term relationship with you that they can really.
It is. And the thing about value with the gallery, we look very much at the value of the piece in the secondary market, so people can buy with confidence from us. They know that the value is a value. It will always, in general, hold its value, and it will probably increase in value. That tends to be a little bit more complicated in the contemporary market. Because then it's very much you fall in love with the item and you want to have it. Often it can be an investment, but it's a different type of purchase.
So there are some definitely different types of clients, but some people are extremely emotional and say, "I've got to have it. It's just wonderful." Don't even want to know the price of something. And others who want to know every single detail, and they'll write all those details in tiny writing on the back of the picture or the object, so that. In their home they have almost like a museum collection of items. But there's always going to be an emotional connection as well from the start.
So interesting. It's such a wonderful one.
Yeah, it is. And you do have items that people will pass through the gallery and won't really notice them, but they are important works of art. So for instance, at the moment in the gallery we have a Picasso and we have a Renoir. But they're not the things that people would automatically hone in on. They'd have to be drawn to it unless they're a collector of that particular work.
again, I have an Andy Warhol, but it's this big, you know,
right.
and it's of a pink pussycat,
Yeah.
and it's absolutely gorgeous. But people pick it up and think, oh, that's €20, you know? And then I have to explain to them, I'm really sorry. It's actually
a little bit more than
fantastic.
Right.
So we point people in the right direction if they need it. They need it.
But then things like that can be a fantastic investment. If you're buying
Yes.
that calibre of artist,
Right.
you know that's money in the bank, and also that's money that will probably increase, and you'll find a good return on that if that's what you're interested in doing. And it's nice to buy for your children or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when they want to buy a house later on, they can sell their piece and it'll give them a deposit or something like that.
We're happy to help people with whatever their needs are, whether they're looking for something that goes with the colour of the sofa, or whether it's, you know, because they're emotionally attached to, I don't know, what would you say, a particular style like cubism, or whether they're really intellectually drawn to something. We're not judgmental about it at all, because art is completely personal, and we just welcome everybody in, you know.
And we're also not purists.
No.
We both have very eclectic taste,
Yes.
and it's our taste which is in the gallery.
Yeah.
If that resonates with somebody, they'll be our client. If it doesn't resonate with them, then
that's fine.
you know we probably won't be able to find things for them. But there is enough of a choice that most people will find something.